don't make sense what the suffering was for. Cause I got out my head and I got in my bag. No time to be crying, there's money to make. I'll do what I gotta, whatever it takes. Cause I'm pushing myself to be one of the great. And my time is
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, today, what I want to talk about was entirely about focusing on yourself. And the reason why I'm going to be talking about this today is because I feel like we get so caught up in the whirlwind of shiny object syndrome, right? Like I had a conversation with one of the guys that's mentoring me to get to my, like, the biggest ambitious goals that I have set out for myself. And don't get me wrong, like a lot of these things, like I'm proud of within my life, like I'm not going to talk about them as if they don't bring me value. But the reason why I want to talk about focusing on yourself is because I've got myself into a lot of positions where I'm networking with a lot of people, and I'm fortunate enough to be considered like almost like a little bit of an authority within the fitness market, lifestyle market, for people wanting to become better versions of themselves. And the reason why I say that is because as you start to get new levels of success in your life, you start to crush new goals, get new heights, and ultimately build a life that you want. Whereas at one point in your life, you never thought you could get to these areas. A lot of people want to be brought to these level of successes for just the fact that they think they know you. A lot of people want to be carried along the journey. A lot of people want to make you feel bad for focusing on yourself and deteriorating or veering you off your path, if you will. And that's why I want to be talking about focusing on yourself, is because you have to understand the level of accountability you need to have on yourself. And the reason why I bring up shiny object syndrome is because let's use a perfect example as in fitness, right? We all are on some form of fitness regimen. And if we're not, like, obviously you should get onto something that works for you in some regard. But for example, say you lose a little bit of weight, you gain a little bit of muscle, you gain a little bit of confidence, you feel a little bit better in your skin. You almost sometimes get blinded about the societal gains you get. You know, people start commenting on your clothing or start commenting on how big you got in terms of like muscle mass, or people start commenting on like, your shape because you lost some fat, your body fat percentage and stuff went down. And it's like you almost forget about why you started the journey in the beginning, right? And it's like shiny object syndrome. You start getting new people reaching out to ask for your help, or new friend groups wanting to hang out with you. You just have new energy in your life. And the reason why I'm kind of rambling about why you should focus on yourself is because all this new energy isn't necessarily good energy. So you have to understand that focusing on yourself is one of the biggest reasons why you can see success in your life and build the life you want, is because you focus on yourself, invest time in yourself, and you build this crazy ass lifestyle. And the reason why I'm saying focusing on yourself is so important is because once you start to gain traction in your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, with new levels and new heights that you've never thought would come true, you have to double down on focusing on yourself, because the shiny object syndrome, people and things are going to attract to you that you're going to think are supposed to serve you because it's a new level of your life that you're in. When in reality, it's like there's a quote that says new levels bring on new devils, and it's just new devils at the new height of your life that you're at. And that's why we're going to talk about focusing on yourself. And we're going to talk about 3 main talking points. And talking point number 1 is going to be, don't feel bad for wanting more out of your life. Don't feel bad for wanting better, period. We're going to talk a lot about that. Talking point number 2 is we're going to talk about your time needs to be entirely about growth, positivity, abundance, peace, self-development. The list goes on. But your time has to be filled with positivity, abundance, and things that serve you, period. And the last talking point is we're going to talk about a few actionables, 3 in particular, actionable takeaways that you as the listener or you as the viewer could watch, read, listen, recite for you to start focusing on yourself immediately. So talking point number 1, don't feel bad for wanting better and more out of your life, is you have to understand that once you start to demand more from yourself, you're going to organically start to demand more from everyone around you, because as your expectations rise and you start focusing on things that serve you and make you feel confident and certain that you're going to get to this next level of life, not everyone around you is going to want to accommodate those changes or supporting those changes, because again, as you expect more from yourself and focus on yourself, that time that other people gained from you is now being allocated to yourself. So as you start to demand more from your life and set higher ambitious goals, you got to start to learn how to protect your time and ultimately focus 110% on yourself. And the reason why you got to learn how to do that is because you're going to realize you can't bring these people with you. And you got to understand that these might be even your closest family members, your closest friends, people that have been in your life since you can remember. And this is where I say this with a bunch of love is like, I don't care how long you've known them for. I don't care if it's like your A1 day one, or you've known this person since the sandbox, or this person has been there at a very low point in my life. Like at the end of the day, if anyone is not in your life that's supporting you focus on yourself, I'm not saying be selfish with your time and, it's a one-sided relationships and you only hang with people and converse with people on your time, because it's a 50-50 relationship with anything in life. But if anyone that is necessarily a quote unquote an anchor for you when you're focusing on yourself, you need to absolutely audit the absolute fuck out of that relationship and see if it's still worth your time. Because as you start to grow, like I'm saying, there's another quote that I like to say, and that's like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink it. And as you start to focus on yourself and want more of your life and want to become better, you can't expect the same amount of people to want to see that same vision or want to see that same lifestyle for themselves. So don't feel bad for wanting more of your life and maybe ruffling some feathers around you, because that does not mean you're a bad person for wanting change and wanting more of your life. That just means that you're actually taking accountability for the time that you have on this planet and making sure that you have the most abundant time of your life, making sure you get the most out of your minutes, your moments in this planet and this lifetime that you're in, right? I've lost several friend groups based on this, and certain people assuming that they deserve free rides. I literally had two or three close friends that just like assume I sit in my house and make content all day and that's all I do. And it's like, and then if I go to like, I went to West, I went to Kelowna, like a lot of people assume they just deserve this free ride or this free attention or these handouts, right? And it's because people are going to make you feel bad for wanting more or better your life. And that's the biggest thing with this talking point, is that it's not worth your time, which leads me to the second talking point. The second talking point is your time needs to be entirely about growth, positivity, abundance, peace, development, everything and anything that serves you ultimately becoming the best version of yourself, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, anything that's what your time has to be evolved with all the time. Don't fall victim to being conditioned thinking you have to hold others accountable for their goals or feeling the need to bring them to the successes you seek. Just because you're demanding more of your life, you're focusing more on yourself, you cannot expect everyone to see that same vision, and it's not your responsibility. And do not be conditioned to feel like you got to bring everybody with you and hold them accountable to their goals. You set out these goals, you set out these standards. This is what you have your eyes on. If nobody sees that and nobody focuses on supporting you with these, and they just take away and anchor you, and your time isn't full of abundance, your time isn't full of growth, and your time isn't full of peace and self-development, those whole 9 yards, then do not fall victim to thinking you need to bring anyone with you at all. And the reason why I'm saying all this is because if your time is being filled with gaps of negative people, negative habits, or things that literally just waste your time, but not only just waste your time, but don't serve you, that's literally making you regress further backwards. That's literally making you go backwards in your life, So literally your time needs to be filled with reading books, studying courses, or taking a program. Go under a mentorship program. Mentorship programs have been fucking crazy for my life, You need to be exploring these avenues of self-expression, such as art, creative writing, new fitness goals. Challenge yourself physically to get out of your comfort zone. Explore new relationships, Stop holding the same standard with the same relationship with the same people that are holding you in the same spot in your life. Challenge yourself to get out into new friend groups. Challenge yourself to maybe ask that guy, that girl, that person on for a date. Something that's going to develop you as a character and helps bring your life, making it more focused on abundance, focused on a peace, focused on activities that nurture your soul, focus on creating a reality that ultimately you're happy to live with 110% of the time, truly. So if your time is not focused on the abundance and the growth, then that's where you need to understand that your time deserves to be reinvested back into you for these things. And that's why you cannot be conditioned and have that false sense of, I got to bring everybody with me, or I got to hold other people accountable for their goals. You focus on yourself, you set out your goals, and the people that are truly meant to be there for you are going to be aligned with you in that regard. That's why you don't worry about losing people along the journey, so long you're being positive and in a good manner, not maliciously, like removing yourself from friend groups, thinking that's going to give you a false sense of validation and growth. It's like, no, if you genuinely outgrow people because you're focusing on yourself, trying to get your life better, there's a quote that I want you to know that before we get into the third talking point, which is actionables you can take away, is in the beginning of any journey that you ever talk about with anybody, it's always, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? And it's all these judgmental things. I'll never forget when I got into my first program, losing 35, 40 pounds. And it was always, why'd you do this? Why'd you do this? Why are you leaving us? Why don't you hang with us anymore? Why are you ignoring us? And then literally after I got my goal accomplished and I was focusing on myself, most of these same people had the nerve to ask me, how did I do it? How did you do it? How did you lose the weight? How did you change your life? How did you get financially free? All these different things. And it's like, these same people are the same people that are the horses that you led to the water that just simply won't drink it because they're not willing to put in the same work. So lastly, to finish off with some actionables you can take away to start focusing on yourself, we're going to talk about 3 of them. Number 1 is to decide you're worth it and stand firm on that. So you got to understand, no one's going to focus on you for you unless they're using you. That's what you got to understand, because you got to ultimately decide you're worth more than where you are right now in your life, and be absolutely relentless with this and remove all of your emotions. That's what you got to understand, because you got to decide that you're worth more than what you currently have in your life. And you got to stand firm on that until it materializes into something that gives you that. You just need something to give you that little bit of fire, that little bit of proof, that little bit, those first 5 pounds lost, those first 5 pounds of muscle gained, that first little bit of confidence in a new friend group. You speak up for yourself. You just need that. You just need to decide that you're worth it, stand firm on it, get that first small fucking win, and the rest is going to be history. Number 2 is going to be remove your emotions. Now, this is different for everyone because we're all very emotional beings. Whether you believe it or not, we're all very emotional. So it's going to be different for everyone in which way we do this, but you have to have some type of avenue of tracking your progress, whether it's taking notes, writing in a journal, writing in a planner, reading books, whatever. You just have to have a system to understand your emotional state in some place for this, because this is where it's also key to have like a mentor or a coach. And that's a little bit of a side tangent, but that's there to help you have more realistic ways to look at your emotional state factually versus from an emotionally fueled point of view. That's number 2, is really learning how to remove the emotions, and you just ultimately just need to find a way to remove them. And the reason why that is because you got to become more realistic to what you actually need in your life versus what you want. And when you're operating on the back foot of being emotional, it's literally, you're going to do what you want in that moment, and it's not going to be a very intelligent, smart decision. It's not ultimately going to pay you huge dividends in the end. So you got to have a way to be able to track your regulation of your emotions to understand when your peaks and valleys come. When are you angry? When are you irritated? When are you happy? When are you feeling the most calm and at peace, Because then when you know what you actually need to get your life to where you're going, then that's when you actually know what the right path to take. The third takeaway is honestly setting up boundaries. You have to set the fucking standards for what you need and what you believe you deserve your worth. And again, you got to be relentless on these and hold them true. And that's why I love when I said nobody's going to take care of you or focus on you for you unless they're using you. So it's on you to set these standards for what you need around these boundaries and being relentless on these and holding them true, because you're going to learn quickly what's right and wrong for you. But the point is to create these boundaries and be firm and slowly mold them and adjust as you go, because life can truly be as blessed and abundant and as beautiful as you want it to be. But you just have to create the boundaries around the standards of what you need in your life and stick to them relentlessly, remove the emotions from them, and just fucking give it your all. So those are my 3 takeaways for you to focus on yourself today. And to wrap it up, I want to leave you with this. 5 years ago, I was addicted to drugs. I was partying all the time, and I was literally ruining my life every weekend and regressing further behind in debt, my emotional state, everything. 3 years ago, I simply made the decision to go all in on myself and focus 110% on myself, not selfishly, but in a really, really good manner in terms of taking care of my mental health, my physical health, my emotional health, and my spiritual health. And today I stand tall, proud of what I've built. And now I'm blessed to focus not only just all the time on myself and my life and my career and my friends and my family, but I'm also focusing on myself all the time with the people I love, which is why I say focus on yourself, and the right support avenues will follow in line with you, because that's why it's so important to focus on yourself, is because everything will align in your life the way you know deep down it can, but you just got to be relentless and keeping strong with those boundaries just long enough to see it to come to fruition. And that's why it's important to focus on yourself, because you fucking deserve it. And that's all for today's episode, guys. I appreciate you so much. And again, for tuning in, as always, relentlessly, I appreciate you guys. I can't even tell you guys and express to you guys how much it means to me, because these podcasts really are one of those avenues of where I get to talk about my personal mental health and mindset and my own experiences throughout life. And literally, when I say 5 years ago, I was addicted to drugs, partying all the time, and literally rooting my life every weekend, I'm not lying. And when I say 3 years ago, I simply made the decision to focus all on myself and go all in. I'm not joking, for my life to be where I am now, standing tall, proud of what I built, and now being blessed to focus on myself with the people I love. So if you're taking any type of sign to go all in on yourself, this is it. And if you're struggling to go all in on yourself, I want you to know it's really not that bad. All you need to understand is that first step is the hardest. The second step is where you just got to understand, can you get to the third? Once you get to the third, the rest is fucking history. Have a blessed Monday. Let's get it.
Who's on my side? I don't know anymore. Cause it's more than a battle, we going to war. And losing again, I just cannot afford. I think it's my time to go even the score. What you see on the surface attached to my core. I'm stacking my paper, but feeling for more. One hell of a ride, but I'm staying on board. And now it makes sense what the suffering was for. Cause I got out my head.